Those of you who know the series A Song of Ice and Fire are probably aware that there exists the Dothraki language. This video here is to tell you how to pronounce it. There are many articles which can be found on the internet which explain certain parts of how it's pronounced, and I'm just going to explain a few of the important points. So first off, let's get through with the sounds that are common between English and Dothraki. We have our vowels. The I, O, E, and A sounds are all common between English and Dothraki. So if you say ah, that's the A sound. If you say E, that's the I sound. If you say E, that's the E sound. And finally, if you say O, that's the O sound. It's really simple with that part. David J Peterson himself said that because there's not many vowels, you can have lots of variation between them and still be pronouncing it properly. There also exists some consonants which are common between Dothraki and English, and some consonants that are not common between Dothraki and English. Some examples of sounds which are common between the two languages include our F sound, our V sound, our P sound, our B sound, our M sound, our W sound, as well as the TH sound, like in thigh, our voiceless dental fricative, as well as our S sounds, our Z sounds, our CH like in church, our J like in judge, our SH like in shin, and the J sound like in fusion, which in Dothraki is written as ZH. Our Y sounds, our K and G sounds, as well as the H sound like in hat. If you try to say any of those sounds when speaking Dothraki, just because you speak English, that means that those sounds that I just listed, when you say them, you're going to say them pretty much perfectly. However, there also exist sounds which you wouldn't pronounce perfectly if you speak like an English speaker. There exist more dental sounds in Dothraki than there exists in English. If you say the sounds T, D, N, or L like you would in English, you're going to have an accent and it's going to be wrong. Instead, you have to pronounce them as dentals. If you stick your tongue between your teeth and then you say ta, that's a dental T. Ta, a ta, and you can do the same thing with D. Da, a da, and na, a na, la, a la. Notice how my tongue is going between my teeth every single time. That is important, because this way you pronounce them as dental sounds and not as alveolar sounds like they are in English, so you won't have an accent. The R sounds, which exist in Dothraki, are pronounced as trills or as flaps. If you know Spanish or Japanese, you might be familiar with some of these. So if you can say ra or ra, that's pretty good. I don't know exactly how to explain those sounds, which is unfortunate. It's the only sound in Dothraki which I do not know how to explain. I mean, I can say it myself, but I learned it such a long time ago that I can't even explain it. But if you search around the internet, you'll probably be able to find pretty good sources of how to pronounce the r or ra sound, as they are in Dothraki. Penultimately, we have our Q sound. If you know Arabic, you're probably familiar with it. It's the uvular stop. Ka, a ka. It's a very hard sound. For the past half of a year, I've been trying to learn that sound, and I only learned it a month or two ago. If you click on my face, I made a pretty good tutorial about how to do it. If you watch that video all the way through and do everything that I tell you to do, you're probably going to be able to say it, but don't think that it's easy. Just do what I say and you'll get it. That's the way that I learned it, and that's probably the easiest way that you're going to be able to learn it. Finally, we have our KH sound. If you sometimes hear people speaking English in the TV series or just talking with a bad accent, you might hear them say the word Khaleesi, meaning queen. However, Khaleesi is an incredibly bad pronunciation of the word, because first off, it's KH, and KH, Dothraki, represents a velar fricative, like cha, a cha. The best way to explain how to do this is if you imagine saying a K sound, and then you just sort of hold your tongue in that position in the back of your mouth. Then if you just sort of try to push air through it as you maintain the shape of the K sound, the shape that you have right before you release the K. Ka, a cha. Then you'll be able to pronounce the velar fricative, which is what KH represents. So that will get you closer to properly pronouncing the word Khaleesi. You might have noticed that I pronounced it as Khaleesi, not as Khaleesi. This is because in Dothraki, when you have two vowel symbols next to each other, there's a gap between them. So in this case you have Khaleesi. Those two E's are not pronounced as E, because that's already represented by the letter I. It's pronounced as le-esi, because they're two separate vowels, and so they're pronounced at two separate points in time, and they're both E's, so it's pronounced E. So you get Khaleesi. As I already mentioned, there's only 4 vowels, so it's pretty simple. Thank you and goodbye.